round of applause.
Oops, Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen. Very often in life, we keep hearing, find your balance, become a balanced person, eat a balanced meal, try to find the work-life balance. So what is this balance all about? Since there has been too much talk and advice about balance, I thought of doing something different. Let's talk about imbalance. So in order to understand what is imbalance, or to see what this is all about, we have to look into what is balance first. And looking back into history and all the different scripts that have come throughout the millennia, we often hear of this mind, body, spirit balance. And it has been said in different ways, but they're all trying to say the same thing: be a balanced human being. So the biggest of all common of the balances we have heard is the mind, the body, and the spirit. So let's take each of them and see how we can lose our sense of balance by being extreme in any one of them. So first of all, let's take spirit. We all know that it's so important to give time for spirituality, regardless what our faith is and whatever we may be believing. But sometimes we just don't make enough time for it. But I would like to give you an example of how people can be extreme when it comes even to something as sanguine as spirituality. When I came back to Sri Lanka around 5 to 6 years ago, I had the blessing or the privilege of spending time to research spiritual pathways, everything that I possibly could find outside my comfort zone. And at that point, I connected with people from around the world, from different walks of life. And as much as they were astounding, sanguine, and all those amazing things you could ever think of, there were a few people that were having a common denominator between them. And that was that they were so focused only on spirituality that they were broke. All they would only talk about and worry about is spirituality, that they didn't make the time and effort to balance themselves with the physical and the mental. So that is one way in which you can lose that sense of balance. Next, we come to the physical aspect. We all know that you have to work out and exercise, just like some of you have been doing it this year. And we've also been told about how you have to eat healthy and have the balance of fitness and eating right. But let's look at the other side of it, the extreme of being too focused only with the physical. And for that, I present you with two different extremes. One, where people are too focused with bodybuilding, especially the men who are into this whole career, that they would inject themselves with steroids. And the extreme of that is that they end up with a lifespan of only a maximum of 55. So whoever are Arnold fans, I'm so sorry to break the news to you, but that's just the truth as far as bodybuilding is concerned. The other side of the extreme is when people are so image conscious, especially the women in the West, that they end up literally starving themselves and end up having diseases like anorexia, where they are such a tiny frame because they are conscious of it. So again, having an extreme focus only on the physical and not giving attention to the spiritual and the mental side of you can almost cause life-threatening imbalances. And last but not least, we come to too much focus on the mental. And you're probably wondering, how can there be too much of focus? I mean, it's a good thing if you are intellectual and have that perfect mental peak. But to give you an example of how that happens, this year I came across one of the members of my audience in the programs. He wasn't a Sri Lankan, a foreign student living in Sri Lanka, very comfortable because his father sends him plenty of money to take care of his expenses. He was so focused only on getting good grades, only on the mental, that he would stay in his room, never leave the house at all, and he would literally call up KFC, Pizza Hut, McDonald's 3 times a day. And this went on until after 6 months of this addiction, he was rushed into the hospital in an ambulance and he got a heart attack at the age of 22. So at that point he was said, until and unless you balance yourself, you are definitely going to end up dying because you don't have a balance. So as you can see, it's not easy. I'm not here to tell you that it's easy. In fact, it's very challenging to try and find that balance, because I have personally myself been through the extremes of all three of them. As a teenager, I was too focused on academics and too much on the mental side of it. And afterwards, I went through a phase where I was too focused on the physical because I was addicted to the gym and fitness and all of that. And last but not least, I had that period of focusing again, as I mentioned, on the spiritual. But at any given time, it was too much focus on one of the three different elements. So today, here I am at the end of 2014 to invite all of you to consider the balance of all these different elements that we all have. And the way that we can do this is by deciding. First of all, decide and have the intention that you want to balance these three different elements. Because once the foundation of balance has been intended within yourself, you've decided to have this sense of balance, then when you bring in the different elements of balance, you actually can balance. So I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, and I really hope that the upcoming year will be a balance of mind, spirit, and soul, and the mental side as well. Thank you.